on it. Yeah, so it can be dangerous. It could be a pitfall for sure. Moving on to the next one. This one I think is really pretty self-explanatory, to be honest. It's the idea of hybrid prompting. We talked multiple times about this, of like explaining like the idea of like switching techniques in your session. I demonstrated that earlier with the idea of like, I took a zero shot, give me a generic response to a customer complaint, and then I took that and I used it as my one shot to like iterate through 10 customer complaints. So the idea of like developing something and then saying like, okay, apply it to this. That's going from zero shot to one shot. Andy, you had a couple times also where you switched techniques like in mid conversation, right?
Yeah.
And that's the idea of hybrid prompting.
Yep. Yeah. So it's a full exploration of the chain of thought, the conversation that you're actually having. And in many cases, like there might be a part of the prompt, to use the example here, how to explain a new coffee flavor, and then use examples of past recipes. Within that prompt, you're combining different techniques. So in this one, zero shot and a few shot, you're mixing them together. You're using the zero shot to set the context of what you want, and then you're using the few shot as the examples from previous successful introductions. So within the same prompt, you're blending a couple of different techniques. So in this case, a zero shot and a few shot works pretty well. Prompt chaining: do this first. It's going to be a zero shot. Next, do this. Maybe it's another zero shot, and then finally do this, and it's going to be a few shot. In that case, you're mixing zero shots, few shots, and you're using prompt chaining, and you're doing it within the same prompt. Let's see, hybrid prompting. We can do an example of that. I got a whole workbook full of different examples that we might be able to pull.
Crazy prompt library.
So
one thing I've learned from this session for the past 2 hours is, if I'm ever gonna do a promptathon, I'm gonna be on Andy's team because he is crushing it over here. Like, oh my gosh, dude.
What I need is a better notebook from all the prompts that I've done in ChatGPT over the last year and a half, so that I can organize all of that and extract all the different prompts that I use. But that's a whole lot of work. It's easier in Copilot. All right, let's paste in this prompt. So draft an email inviting feedback on new store policies. This is a zero shot. Include examples of effective feedback from the past, and then request specific suggestions, contrasted prompting. So that's going to blend 3 different techniques. And as much time as it saves, there is a little bit of time as you have to wait while it thinks and gathers all that information and brings it back. So just looking at this, like, it is giving me an email format, which is what we wanted. New store policies, change can be challenging. So new store policies include some examples. Here are a few things that we've done in the past to help teammates. So it actually gave us that information, and then request specific suggestions. We'd appreciate feedback. Feel free to share. Best regards. I'd say it got most of what we wanted in that one hybrid prompt, and that one went pretty well.
Nice.
So I've got a whole bunch of those. I might share a couple of additional hybrid prompt techniques on some of our various chats out there. I'm curious to see what you think of hybrid prompt techniques, and if you have a favorite that you like to use, reply in the chat. Would love to hear that. And I'm constantly iterating against these things and trying new ones and seeing like what's going to stick and what's going to work.
I feel like hybrid prompting is kind of something that you like do. You kind of like find yourself doing it by happenstance, right? It's like I don't realize that I'm doing it, and I'm kind of just switching like for what works or what pops in my mind at that moment. I don't really think of things in like I'm setting out to do hybrid prompting right now.
when you
It just
craft
kind
it,
of
you're not going
happens.
to explicitly
Yeah.
put 0 shot and few shot in parentheses. It's going to be implied. You're going to say,
Yeah.
explain how to introduce a new coffee flavor and then use past examples. There's a variation of that. Let me come back on the screen for just a second.
Sure.
So, like, let's say we go to like Copilot chat. Like, look at the prompts up here at the top. So,
Hmm.
write an email to my team about our top priorities for next quarter from file. That's actually a hybrid prompt. You're telling it you want to write an email about the top priorities, but you're going to go and reference information from another file. So in that case, it might be a one shot that you're working with, as you're telling it to a 0 shot to draft an email to your team. That's actually a hybrid version of that. What's the latest from this person, organized by emails, chats, and then files? That, when you're providing context in the output that you want, you're referencing a file as an example of
Hmm.
one shot, or in this case, a few shot, because it's going to
I
pull emails,
noticed
chats, and files.
I've noticed that that prompt has gotten better over time, actually.
Yep.
When we were in, like, the EAP program, that sample prompt in the top corner was just, "What's the latest from name?" And then over the past couple months, they've, like, done organized by this, that, and the other, because they found, I think, that, like, when I said, "What's the latest with?" It might give me, like, just a paragraph, but if I did organized by this, that, and the other, it put them into sections, and it was, like, better to read, and I liked it. I liked the output better. It was more attractive. So, like, even Microsoft is kind of, like, tweaking some of these, like, example prompts in Copilot Lab, to as they find, like, that they give better results.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm pulling up a prompt that's closely related to that. This is actually
Mhm.
from our chat the yesterday. Um,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
this is kind of a hybrid prompt.
Which
Provide
one's
an
this?
overview of all the articles published for publication this week. List each article, its title, author, scheduled publish date, and include a status update on that. This one's kind of fun, because the results that you get back, depending on the organization that you're in and your information security and oversharing, this one might return some surprising results within Copilot for Microsoft 365.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what comes up on this because we're in a sandbox where, like, MVPs are, like, doing crazy weird stuff, but, like, not necessarily working together on it. So
Paul Robichaud has been busy.
oh my gosh. You know what you're doing, Andy, is you're, like, exposing, like, what these guys are gonna post on their blogs for the next, like, 6 months.
Thankfully, there's just some dates in the past. But
Yeah.
in this case, like this one, it's combining a couple of techniques. It is calling, referencing material that we have inside of there. It's
Mhm.
including like a status update on that. Adding some. Is it draft and review ready to publish, helping us to like map out a content schedule. That was kind of a hybrid technique. I just think that one's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah, I like that prompt. You can find some cool stuff that way. So
And then